Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Heartful of Hallmark. We are so excited to be joined by Dustin today. Thank you for coming on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we can't wait to dive into all of your films.
Well, I'm excited to do that too. So here we go.
I say we start with a brand new one that's starting off Hallmark 2026, which has these little indie stars. I'm sure nobody's heard of them. Lacey Chabert and Ian Harding, Lost in Paradise, this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Hallmark Channel. So if you guys are new to the channel, a lot of you aren't, but let's get right into it. My name is going to pop up first, right next to the question, Kirsten's vice versa. So that way we don't talk over each other and we get time with you and we get our time in the spotlight. So I'm going to start off with this. Can you tell us a little bit about the movie?
Yeah, so it's fun. It's very much a summer romance adventure, which is great for those people who are kind of locked in, snowed in. It's a good way to kick off the year. In those kind of dregs. I live in Vermont, and so I know my family loves to watch them because there's a lot of snow out right now. So yeah, it's very much opposites kind of attract kind of film. She's a successful clothing designer tycoon, and he is kind of a down on his luck chef. And I don't want to give it all away, obviously, but they end up meeting on a private jet under some bizarre circumstances. And of course, the jet has to make an emergency crash landing, which ends up being an island in the middle of nowhere in the Fijian Islands, which have over three to 500 islands that make up that whole region. So when you think of Fiji, you think of maybe just one or two islands, but there's actually hundreds of them. Some of them are inhabited, and some of them are not inhabited. So it makes for a lot of fun, a lot of adventure. We have this little dog named T-Rex in the movie who ended up just being an absolute rock star. So it's really Ian and Lacey at their best. Yeah. If you want to see a fun movie with seeing Lacey and Ian's comedy chops on display, but also their just their romantic chops, it's a pairing of two of the best people in the business that I can imagine. And they're both gems. They were both amazing to work with. We've done several movies with Lacey, and we love her. So
I'm so excited to see how Hallmark's like leaning into more of the comedy side of things.
yeah,
And Lacey does a phenomenal job with it, with like balancing romance and comedy.
she does. She really does. And she, maybe this is one of the questions coming up, but she did an amazing job. Both of them, they were really out of their element on this. I mean, this was not an easy shoot. So we there was no it's you basically are flown into an island, so there's no star trailers like usual. There's no, we were on a beach and they had a little chair over in the corner and they just hung out in between setups. We had to battle the elements for real, but it ended up being one of the most amazing experiences any of us had ever had, and I think they'd attest to that too, to be honest.
So with Lost in Paradise, we said it's kind of like a rom-com meets Survivor vibe. How did you keep that fresh while still making it feel like a Hallmark movie?
Well, I also liken it if you've ever seen the old Harrison, which is actually aged pretty well, the old Harrison Ford Anne Heche movie, 6 Days, 7 Nights.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me a bit of that as well. So you throw that into the mix. Survivor meets 6 Days, 7 Nights, wrapped in a beautiful Hallmark bow, and you kind of have what this movie is. And it wasn't that hard to keep it fresh because what I liked about it is our particular company, we ended up doing a lot of Hallmark's more higher end Christmas movies. So for us to get to do a non-Christmas movie that was going to help kick off this season was really fun. And Lacey was actually an executive producer on this project. She
Oh,
helped develop
nice.
this project. So
Hmm.
this is, her company was involved. We get along great. We have a great working relationship. And
Hmm.
so we brought this to the network and they ended up jumping on it. And I think one of the things that made it so much fun is it's a very fresh concept for them. And
Hmm.
and it's not like we're shooting it in some other region and faking it for somewhere else.
Yeah.
We were literally in Fiji shooting for 3 weeks
Hmm.
against the elements. It was just amazing. So, and their impromptu banter is fantastic.
Yeah.
They had great chemistry. So the answer is it wasn't that hard to keep it fresh because I like to keep things moving at a pretty brisk pace when we film
Hmm.
anyway. I love to let the actors play. So, you have what's 100% scripted and then you bring their improv magic to it. And, a lot of times those are the takes you go with. It's like just, it's a beautiful thing to watch, a beautiful thing to
Hmm.
be a part of. So,
Yeah. I really enjoy when Hallmark actually films the movies on site and then you're like, I want to be there. Like it makes
yeah.
the viewer want to be in that place.
It's a long plane ride, but worth every penny if you can go there. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful culture too. You have the resorts, which is where we
Hmm.
ended up base camping at, and the area. It's basically one giant island, similar to Hawaii. But
Hmm.
what the side of the island we were on is where a lot of the filming takes place, like The Survivors and different shows like that. But this particular resort catered to divers, especially, and they had a lot of shark expeditions. There's a lot of bull
Oh, wow.
sharks in the water, and they do a
Hmm.
lot of shark dives. They do a lot of coral dives, a lot
Hmm.
of beautiful, fish dives. But it's definitely a diver's paradise, and that I mean all over, but especially that part of the
Hmm.
island. So we were in and amongst that, and we were always cognizant about the bull sharks in the water.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really neat. So.
Hmm.
Let's go into this. So, with a lot of networks, they are very cautious with their audience. So, with Hallmark, they like to keep it fresh and light. But you said there's a plane crash here. And if anybody doesn't know, Hallmark gives a lot of notes. So, was there a specific note that Hallmark gave you before or after shooting that plane crash?
I mean, I got to be honest. All the execs I've dealt with the network have been fabulous. It's really very much a team atmosphere. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, we make basically PG/G rated content for the Hallmark Channel. So, one of the I don't want to give away what happens because it
Hmm.
might be a Hallmark first
Okay.
for some of the stuff. But we try not to keep it too violent. That was the
Hmm.
key.
Yeah.
Lean more into the comedy. If you're going to be in a
Hmm.
situation like that, try to lean more into the comedy and just in the moment. So that's all I really want to say until you see the movie. And I'd be happy to tell you more about it.
Yeah.
We'll have you on next time. We can dive deep into everything. I
Yeah,
mean,
that would be a lot of fun. I can give you a lot of behind the scenes stories on specific scenes, and there are some. So yeah.
Hmm.
we can't wait.
Were there any scenes, I know you did say there was a lot of like challenges with the weather that like specifically like stood out to you that were hard to film on location?
They were all hard to film on
They were all.
location. First of all, they're basically castaways on an island.
Hmm.
So we had this one stretch of island that ran for several miles that we had access to that we basically were able to rent out and use.
Hmm.
So it's deserted. But you don't realize when weather's an amazing, Mother Nature's an amazing thing. So yeah, there's all these things you have to keep in the back of your mind. So you have calm
Hmm.
water, and then you have wind, and it makes the water choppy. Having all
Yeah.
that match scene to
Hmm.
scene, it's really difficult. You might have sun one part of the day, and then rainstorm another part. So you're constantly having to pivot.
Hmm.
Uh, Wind was a we had to just embrace the wind and embrace the weather in a lot of these scenes. Although we got very very lucky
Hmm.
in that the weather, because we had an amazing crew and we were able to pivot. We got very lucky with the weather. We didn't have any major catastrophes, although we did have days where we had a schedule for Plan A and a schedule for Plan B if the weather goes south. Our poor production designer Daniel King, who's an amazing, he comes with us
Oh.
everywhere. had his work cut out for him because there were a couple
Mhm.
days where I was like, we need to pivot from the beach location to XYZ. And he was like, "Ah, I got to make sure the team has it set dressed." And but I think
Oh
I can pull it
no.
off. And so I think he wanted to go swim with the bull sharks by the time we were done. But he did an
Probably.
amazing job, and because of him and the crew like him, we were able to be pretty lucky with it. But there
Mhm.
were a lot of there's some, especially the last half of the second half of the movie. There's a lot of actiony sequences that they
Mhm.
get caught up in, which is really fun. But again, the A story is always the love story, and so
Yeah.
for audiences wanting to tune in for that, they're going to get plenty of that. And it's actually that's part of what makes it so much fun is there's a lot of comedy, but they're very endearing characters, and you
Mhm.
fall in love with both of them instantly. And their supporting cast is fantastic in this movie, so you fall in love with them too. And it's just like I said, the chemistry was off the hook all the way around. So I really think
Yeah.
people are going to love this. Is Lacey at her best and Ian at his
Mhm.
best, and they were so amazing.
Yeah.
Lacey is an absolute pro, but the last movie that you did with her was a lot different and probably a lot colder. So, since you
Yeah,
have worked with her multiple times, is it easier to work with her knowing her little quirks in each scene now?
Lacey's always been easy to work with. Here's what I will say about Lacey, and she'll probably say the same thing. Whenever you're in, you especially whenever you have a client or a network that you work with for the majority of your work, and all of us work do different movies for other
Mhm.
networks, but Hallmark is our most loyal partner. um, it's easy to fall into like I usually do this, I usually do that, and one of the things Lacey actually loves is to be pushed outside of her boundaries. Like she actually
Mhm.
loves to have multiple takes and riff and play when given the time, and she's great at it. Like she's at her best when she is just zippity snap on her toes on stuff, to be honest.
Mhm.
And she shines. And so like the Christmas Quest was a very different movie for Hallmark, very different movie for us, way outside the box because we were focused on Christmas, but more of a European Christmas culture, which I think is fun because you get
Mhm.
and honestly the fan reaction to it was amazing last year. But that was a very True Lies light kind of
Yeah.
adventure. Um, and so she and Chris loved it. We had a lot of fun making that movie, um, and their chemistry was amazing in terms of how they bounced
Yes.
off each other. And like, there's the scene where she has to get the key card, and she pretends to be, and she goes up to the hors d'oeuvre table. I mean, that was all real. She took that, she matched it every time. She stole his card. If you look, she does it all.
Yep.
There was no trick cutting there. You know how
Mhm.
she swiped the guy's password clearance
Yeah.
card. So it was really fun. We had a great time making that film, and I'm thankful that Hallmark, for some of their films, let's just push the boundaries a bit. I mean, there's
Mhm.
always going to be it's always going to be chicken soup for the soul. Hallmark's always
Yeah.
going to be that, but I think it's good to shake things up a little because if you
Yeah.
always know exactly what's going to happen, it kind of numbs the experience a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yeah.
So if there's any doubt, if there's any worry about what might happen, because everyone one of these days the girl might not get the guy and vice versa. And I
Yeah.
don't I'm actually here to say it might not be a bad thing because then you're always going to be one of the reasons we go to
Mhm.
cinema is the ending is never guaranteed. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yes.
And if you can take a little bit of that maybe and infuse it.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not why people tune in. They tune in because it's
Yeah.
comfort, and you want to make sure we give them that. But it is nice if you can keep you guessing right up to the end. Hence, we've had several films that I think were very satisfying endings, like the first Biltmore Christmas movie.
Mhm.
Um, was in doubt on the end. It's a movie called Newport Christmas that we did this
Yep.
last year that kept the audience guessing, and that I had directed, and that was very much a mandate for us and our team was we wanted to create something where you weren't 100% sure how it was going to work out
Mhm.
and how is this even going to tie up at the end, but that keeps you invested, and I think that's important, is keeping the audience invested in what you're doing.
I completely agree. I love when we're like kept on our toes a little bit and guessing. Like it really like keeps you hooked onto
Yeah,
watching the movie.
well, and you can't please everybody. It's the one thing I learned
Mhm.
about this
No.
business. Art is subjective. What you like
Yes.
in a story is subjective, and there is people that like the most Like they like the old fashioned, like we
Mhm.
know exactly what's going to happen. And there's people that like something outside the box, but I'd say the majority like it right down the middle, and
Yeah.
that's what we try to do. That's the jagged edge
Mhm.
that we walk with every film. So
And this year, that blend was perfect. All 24 films felt similar, but they had a lot of just different parts to them, especially something like, Newport, Three Wisest Men. That one went way outside the box. That one
yeah,
went for comedy instead of the fluffy kid comedy. This one went for zany and out there. Newport was like a time travel film. Give us more of that, but also give me more of the classic films. Just because if you go too outside the box, then
yeah,
our audience and us start to get a little bit sick of it. So if you do
yep,
half and half, I'm perfectly happy.
yep. Well, and
Mhm.
that's like, for instance, I think if you always keep in mind the A story is the love story. And
Mhm.
like I said, Christmas Quest was way outside the box. But here's the one thing you had was there. I don't want to say sexual tension,
Mhm.
but they were once married, and it's about them having missed maybe a moment in their life and missed the mark and having that regret. And you can tell they both love each other, but both are too proud to admit it. And
Mhm.
that's what pulls you through the core of the story. And you want to see them come back together and be able to give it another go and things like that.
Yeah.
And then there's like Newport Christmas. It had some comedy in it, but it was very much a drama as well. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And especially the second half of the movie, like you were really like there's normally an arc that works out, and the arc is weighted towards the end with these films. But one of the things I
Mhm.
liked about Newport Christmas was the arc happens in the middle. And I don't want to, for those who
Mhm.
haven't seen it, obviously, but there's a passion and a love that happens earlier on. Then you figure out how are they going to sustain this when they're both from two different eras, and who's going to get their heart broken. And you have a bit of a
Mhm.
love triangle too, which is very
Yep.
unusual. So,
Mhm.
which I think works.
It did work. I think it worked really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we've covered every single question except for this one. So Kirsten has the last question, then we'll move into an extra film.
Okay.
Okay. So, what did you notice first when Lacey and Ian started working together, and how did you build and protect the chemistry between those two leads in the isolated setting that they were in?
Well, first of all, we're all on an island together, so
Yeah.
it's kind of, for lack of a better term, sink or swim.
Yeah.
We're all in the same hotel. There's not a lot to do, so it was like instant bonding. And if first of
Mhm.
all, they're both professionals, so if they hated each other, you'd probably never know. But they didn't. They got along very well. I mean, Lacey is truly one of the nicest human. Lacey, the
Mhm.
thing about her is what you see is what you get. She is the same if you see her in an interview, if you're having, a dinner with her in real life. She's a truly kind, nice person, and she's very genuine.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, there's lots of people like that, but Lacey is literally, if you open up the dictionary and look up genuine, her picture in there. And I think that has translated to her success, to be honest. And Ian's
Mhm.
same way, very personable guy, very family driven guy. It was hard because we're away from all of our families, all of
Yeah.
us. But one of the things that did help with the chemistry, actually, and also maybe some of the tension is they don't have star trailers to go to in between takes. So
Mhm.
I actually got more takes because they were just right there. It's like, we're ready to film. Pop over here. Here we go. Let's block it and shoot it. But they did get to visit more and hang out a little bit more and
Mhm.
things like that. So I just tried to make sure, first of all, respect and kindness is what we always try to foster from the top down.
Mhm.
Whether it's us as the production company or me as the director, the Lacey fosters it, so did Ian. Everybody, and I think if you're coming into a positive environment, it filters down through. Likewise, if you're in a negative environment at the top, that can filter down through. So I just try to keep it a positive environment, and there was no issues. We had a lot of fun, and like I said, they are great actors, and they do not mind
Mhm.
playing with the scenes and you know pushing things because they know that's the
Yeah.
great power of editing. Shoot some
Mhm.
as scripted and then play with some a little, and they're both so good with comedy that just a little deviation sometimes you're like, oh, that's gold.
Mhm.
So
And that is our interview for this film. So if you guys are looking forward to this movie, you can see it this Saturday. Lost in Paradise, Ian Harding, Lacey Chabert, and the cute little puppy who's going to steal the show. This Saturday, 8 p.m. Hallmark Channel. And next day on Hallmark Plus, not sponsored. So let's go into another movie, and I'm going to just take a back seat, and Kirsten is going to take the reins, and we're going to go into A Newport Christmas. She loves this movie. Wes Brown is amazing. Gina, I've spoken to her a couple times. She is the personification of just perfection on stage and screen. So I'm going to let her take the reins, and
Okay. So Wes and Gina are both like two favorites on the channels now. I loved her in the Rockettes film.
Yep.
What was the key factor in their chemistry and what you like focused on capturing throughout the film?
Well, her character, I mean, Jenna Claire is so perfect for that part. She's a whirling dervish. In real life and on screen, she's just got more energy. You know, it's like you suck the energy out of three people and infuses that into her breakfast every morning. So, and she's very creative, but she's also classically trained. So she shows up knowing her lines, knowing everybody else's lines. She's a real pro. But she's perfect for playing somebody of that era, which was 1905 in Newport. And she brings a lot of gravitas to her part, as well as the comedic timing. Because you know, on the one, it's very funny. They both took turns in the film being what we call the straight man, so the serious one, and the other person's and then it flips constantly back and forth. So you might have one scene just in who their characters are. She's trying to figure out this new world around her. And that's unintentionally funny. And then, of course, Wes is trying to explain to her, and he's unintentionally funny. Their characters, I mean. But their chemistry was great. They know each other. You know, the thing about the Hallmark cinematic universe is everybody's kind of one big family. So they're at events together. They now do the thing in Kansas City for, I think, a whole month. This was year 2. You know, so they knew each other from different things. And so when we went out to, that was a project that our company had developed. And I'd always hoped that we could get Wes, and thank goodness it worked out scheduling wise. And, you know, the execs agreed. So that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I thought they were just like magic together. Like they both like played on each other's strengths so
Yeah.
well. And Gina is like the perfect image for like that age. Like
Yes.
she plays that part so well.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. And I felt like, you know, you want the spoiler version of this or the non-spoiler version? I don't know. I mean, I figure it's out this season, but
Yeah.
I figure
You
that
could
people have
give
already
The
watched it.
spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah, you could give the spoiler.
But one of the things that was important to us going into this was to have, you know, there is a bit of a love triangle in it. And one of the things I hate in a movie is you kind of know what's going to happen at the end of these movies. But if you can create doubt as much as possible, and also you never know, there are a handful of movies that things don't work out the way you thought, especially some of the Hall of Fame ones.
Yes.
You know, where it can crush you, you know what I mean? But in a good way, but also just in like a terms of endearment way. So I you know, nothing, the outcome is never a given. I always try to create that if I can with the audience. The outcome is, I have to go about it that way anyway. And so it's important to us to have another strong male presence in the film. And David O'Donnell, who's also been in a bunch of Hallmark films, great leading man, ended up agreeing to come on. His wife, Jen Aspin, was an executive producer on the movie. And David agreed to come on. That was really important. That was a big get for us because, again, I wanted the audience to believe that there was, you know, this guy Rex Grafton and how she's the one who's supposed to end up with, and history hasn't changed, then it must be him. So that was a lot of fun. It was a big focus. And so, and they are two leads, you know, Jenna Claire and Wes fell in love earlier on than most Hallmark movies. But now it's how do we stay together, and how I know, and she's like, I know what I want, but how can I, and if I don't go back, then everything I started to help the community and women's suffrage and things like that, you know, will not come to fruition. So it was almost like she was giving up her love and her interest to do what she felt was best. And that was a really fun story to get to tell. And I think it was a really powerful story.
It was. I was definitely like on the edge of my seat like when Rex came into the picture. I'm like, "Oh no, how is this like gonna play out?" And then the ending was just like such a twist. I
Yeah,
loved it.
it was heartbreaking when Wes is on the edge of the dock and she's,
Yeah.
mooring away, and he
Mhm.
kind of just waves, soul crushing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that kind of leads us into filming on water. So what was that like with filming on the boat? Were there any hurdles throughout that process?
So, yeah, I mean, so the rule of thumb on these movies, you probably have heard this, you get about
Hmm.
15 days to film them in. So it's the old kind
Yeah.
of old TV movie of the week model. It's been around since the 80s. And Hallmark's kind of perfected that style.
Hmm.
And but we're filming that movie in the winter. We were filming that movie in March, and we shot it both in Newport, Rhode Island, and Buffalo, New York, on the Great
Hmm.
Lakes. The thing about that is, though, it's freezing and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So the truth is, 2/3 of what you see in there is actually CGI.
Okay.
Um, the only I can say this now. The only
Hmm.
stuff that the drone stuff in a lot of those drone shots from a
Hmm.
wide, that was practical, but anything that's close up or above the water in the boat is all CGI. And we have a visual effects company, and it was a hard one to do because there wasn't a lot of money for visual effects, but and there's always things you wish you had time to do better. But I think we did a good
Hmm.
job pulling it off and making
Yeah.
making you focus on the story and not. And your case in point, you probably didn't
Hmm.
realize that, which is
No.
great.
Yeah.
It, I I was looking, I'm like, that damn thing looks real. It was seamless.
Yeah,
Seamless.
yeah. Yeah, it was. We're really proud of how we did that. And it was way safer, and I get better coverage. If you're on the water, it's like Spielberg talking about when he made Jaws.
Yeah.
Boats are drifting. It's hard to get a close up. It's hard to get. Uh, Funny enough, in this movie that is coming out January 3rd with Lacey,
Hmm.
um, uh, Lost in Paradise, we actually any of the water stuff we did film on the water. So that was a challenge,
Hmm.
but we had special rigs and it wasn't anywhere near as many sequences as we had in, say, Newport Christmas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it really worked. And if it looks real, it's because it was.
Hmm.
Which I have to say, for Hollywood, everyone thinks you need what, 30-40 million dollars.
Yeah.
This proves that on a not a low budget film, but a decent budget film below like $10 million, you can do decent VFX and make it look
Yeah.
believable.
Yeah.
Newport looks more believable than all the Hollywood films I've seen in theaters this past year.
Well, thank you. I'll be sure to tell the network that.
Yeah. Yeah.
More
Yeah, yeah.
sponsor. No, I'm joking.
So with Newport Christmas, how did the actual like architecture of the city help with like framing the shots? Because it was just so gorgeous. It felt very Christmassy throughout the whole film.
One of the things that we did and tried to do is Hallmark was gracious enough to let us go with a second unit that I headed up,
Hmm.
and she'd B-roll during at Newport during the Christmas season because that's for. I love to have our movies look as big and
Hmm.
expansive as possible, especially in your wide shots. And what happens when you're faking Christmas is you're generally decorating just a small corridor or a small
Hmm.
area, and you have to shoot it tighter. And one of the things we wanted to do is be able to open this movie up and show Newport and its grandeur and everything. So we actually were able to go to their Christmas tree lighting ceremony, which is so funny because that's the one thing everybody calls out in social media, like they CGI'd all those people. That's not how it is. Well, that is how it is because that's real footage. There's no CGI there. Sorry.
Hmm.
That's where I know we did a great job and they can't tell which is which.
Yeah.
So that Christmas tree lighting ceremony is real there, and we really
Hmm.
shot that sequence, and that's
Hmm.
100% real. So all the establishing shots that you see at Newport at Christmas
Hmm.
are of Newport and are from Newport, and then all the stuff on the wharf that you see down there, Bowen's Wharf, was done there, and stuff like that. And so the locations are like a lot of Hallmark movies, a bit of a character in the movie. And then
Yeah.
the rest of the sequences that we shot in Buffalo, New York, were mostly interiors and things like that.
Hmm.
That were same architecture. It's all from the Gilded Age. Actually, Buffalo, New York, has the most Gilded Age mansions of any place in New York that I believe when it comes to
Mhm.
like per capita, and they turned a lot
Yeah.
of business offices and workspaces, but I could not believe the number of old mansions that are in Buffalo, New York. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the scene where there's the 2025 technology is like a crucial part to the film. So how did you work with Gina to like make that reaction seem like so authentic and grounded?
You mean when she's on the computer and the mouse and all that,
Yeah.
or yeah?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, she's really good at situational comedy. So we had talked, like I said, one of the things I love to do as a director is you get a couple that are exactly as scripted on the page, and then you let the
Mhm.
actors play. And giving an actor license to me is the most important thing you can do, even if you don't end up using that take, because it
Mhm.
creates a freedom. And I would say 80% of the time you do use those series of takes where they feel safe and ground, they can have a lot of fun with their performance. And some of it was the way I set up the camera, it's like she's looking at the
Mhm.
monitor,
Yeah.
and then you cut to the reverse, and then she's, and when he talks about mouse and she jumps, there's just, it was kind of low hanging fruit for somebody
Mhm.
who, when you realize they're not used to this era, it's very low
Mhm.
hanging fruit, those types of jokes, but totally plays for somebody. We were constantly having to go back and say what was or wasn't around during the time, and how would, we had a lot of little sidebars about what would their perception be of something if you were suddenly thrust into this, which is important. It's an
Yeah.
important way to tackle that. So,
Then our final question before we go into some of the fun questions and get to know you a little bit better.
okay.
With Wes Brown, his character Nick, his journey is about letting go. So how did you work with him to direct him to show that transition from like somebody who's like a skeptic, to someone who's willing to believe like in the impossible and time travel and all these things?
Well, again, Wes is one of my favorite actors.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pro, and was very inherent in the script, to be honest. Like in the script that we developed, it was very much beaded out. That whole
Mm-hmm.
progression was
Yeah.
that arc was very beaded out, and we made sure that with just little bits of the performance to make sure we hit home on that. So it was really more of execution, to be honest, because it was all, they say, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. Well, in this case, it
Mm-hmm.
was on the page,
Yep.
and therefore it was on the screen. So, but Wes is a great actor, and he's very
Yeah.
collaborative, and you know, he's a way deeper actor than I think some people give him credit for sometimes
Mm-hmm.
too. He's got very, very good acting chops.
Yeah.
So he's the great, he's able to give you both when you need them. He can give you
Mm-hmm.
great comedic timing, but he also is really good when you give him those moments about drinking them in. Like I said, probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. I love the ending, of course, which we don't need to give that away. But when they're there on the dock and she goes to get on the boat, and then they rush back into each other's arms,
Mm-hmm.
that was heartbreaking. I cried a lot when we were editing it in the editing bay, and
Yeah.
then she's pulling away from the dock, and he's just standing there staring at her, just
Mm-hmm.
having to say goodbye. That was amazing. That was and that was the beauty of those two.
Yeah.
Set up the
I
shots,
yeah.
trust them, and they'll execute. So.
Mm-hmm. And I do have to say, with A Biltmore Christmas, I loved his cameo in the ending.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
Well,
It
Perfect.
good.
was so good with him and Rachel. I was like, that was like the perfect people to be in it.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you like that. It was fun having him in there. We had him in
Mhm.
the Holiday Touchdown movie
Yeah.
too, as a bartender. So it was fun.
All right. So if anybody has not seen Newport Christmas, it's now available on Hallmark Plus. I believe it's on one more time this week before they wrap up the Christmas season. Check your local listings and subscribe to Hallmark Plus to watch a Newport Christmas. So let's go into some Would You Rather and get to know you a little bit better. We're going to change
Okay.
these up a little bit.
Okay.
Since you are a director, we're going to ask these a little bit different than they're written.
Okay.
So,
Fire
would
away.
you rather direct an episode of Heartland or When Calls the Heart?
Oh man. I mean, I'm gonna say this. They're both amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Heartland's a little newer. When Calls the Heart's been around for a while, so I would just say I'm not what you'd call a procedural director, to be honest. I
Hmm.
love the thing I love about doing movies is you're still working, it's still collaborative, it's still with a network, and there's still people to answer to. But when you get to do a movie, it's more traditional cinema. So there's not a million, was that take good for you? Oh my gosh, what was established the episode before? You know, that type of thing as a director drives me nuts because you don't have much control, to be honest.
Hmm.
When you're in a procedural, you kind of come in and the engine, people that created the show have a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? And it's their
Yeah.
baby and their engine, it's their car, and you're a guest to drive that car, which is amazing. And there's a lot of amazing directors that do that. That is not me, actually. It's too constraining, too confining for me personally. And there's nothing wrong with that. These shows are amazing, and people love those
Hmm.
shows, and they should continue to thrive. But you have actors who know their characters better than you do, and you have a lead writer and showrunner who's created this. And so again, it's very much you're in a guest situation. And
Yeah.
I really love coming in and being able to be at the creative, beginning with something, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
it definitely makes
I
sense.
know my strengths, I know my weaknesses.
Hmm. Would you rather watch a rom-com or write a rom-com?
Write a rom-com. Actually, that's not true. There's so many rom-coms I love. So I appreciate both. I love
Mhm.
writing though. I actually have written a ton and I do a lot of ghostwriting on more projects than I can even probably tell you, that
Mhm.
you'd recognize and know, but you don't
Yeah.
get credit for. Um, so I love doing both. And
Yeah.
I love sitting down with my wife and my family and watching a good
Mhm.
rom-com, but I love being a part of the creative process of them too, like hands down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite question to ask any director because they normally give the same exact answer.
Okay.
What's the first thing you go for at the craft service table?
Oh, well, coffee for
There it
one.
is.
Yeah.
Coffee for one. And then after that, something peanut based generally.
Mhm.
Something nut based, energy based. Yeah. As you can see, I have no problem. I've had lots of craft service.
Oh, stop. What about 80% of everybody
I,
says coffee is what
yeah,
runs the
coffee.
Hallmark set.
100%. You are going, going, going. And I have to say, Hallmark's they're an incredible production partner. The people there, they
Mhm.
care so deeply about, if fans knew how deeply they care and the work that goes into developing these projects. And again, the hardest thing is you can't please everybody.
Mhm.
If you watch a given thread, there's going to be, a mix of everything. But the key is, at the end of the day, people take it so seriously. Sometimes they almost take it too seriously to the point where
Yeah.
they almost can't enjoy it. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's still safe,
Yeah.
PG rated content that your whole family can sit down around.
Mhm.
And that's important. And they work really, really hard about
Mhm.
at that, and they care. They're a great group. They're a great network, and I'm super happy to be privileged enough to be involved with them when they'll
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah.
Multiple more times, right?
I hope so. Yeah, we've got somewhere in the works on for this year. So yeah.
Who's some Hallmark stars that you would like to do a movie with that maybe you haven't worked with yet?
So this always pops up, and one of the things, so I got to work with him with a cameo, but
Mhm.
Andrew Walker is somebody who's a dear friend. I did two movies with him before he ever blew up and became the Hallmark superstar that he is.
Mhm.
He was in two. I used to do a lot of westerns, and he was in two westerns for me. And he's a great actor, great chops, great at action. Obviously, he's great at comedy
Yeah.
and drama. But he and I have wanted to get together on something. We've had a couple of near misses, but he's somebody that I hope to work with, in the near future because I
Mhm.
think the world of him. He's a great guy. So that would be the one that jumps to mind. But
Yeah.
I haven't. They've all been amazing. Everybody there has been amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, Andrew's just such a special actor on the network. Like
Yep.
he can do so many different things with acting, serious, funny, like he
Yep.
does it all.
Erin Cahill's somebody that was also did a cameo in Christmas Quest as Lacey's mom. It'd be fun to do
Yes.
something with her, in a more
Hmm.
more full time type of basis. So
Yeah.
where it's not just a cameo, which
Yeah.
she did an amazing job with that. So
Hmm.
And
she's a whirling ball of energy too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's
Yes,
she's met her multiple times.
yeah,
I've met
yeah.
her before, and she is just like full energy. She's like so excited to like meet everybody. She wants to tell all the stories about the film. She's just so sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a guy question. This is just a guy question.
Okay.
Is Die Hard a Christmas
Yes,
movie?
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's my opinion. I did. The moment you said die, I knew what you were going to ask. It is a
Yeah.
Christmas movie, in my opinion. I mean, it's an action movie, but it's at Christmas.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If there's Christmas music and it's set around Christmas time, it's a Christmas movie.
Well, I mean, they're at a Christmas party, and
Hmm.
you know, I think Die Hard's a Christmas movie. I would say yes. So,
Who was your first celebrity crush?
oh, my first celebrity crush. That really catches me off guard. I haven't thought about that. Um, Man, my first celebrity crush. Well, there was a lot of celebrity of not just movie acting, but
Hmm.
the Cindy Crawfords of the world. The
Yep.
Paulina, was it Paulina? They just called her.
Hmm.
I mean, when you're in the '80s, that's when I grew up. That was kind of who was out there. So it was a lot of like the Sports Illustrated.
Hmm.
But they didn't have social media or anything, so it was like the Sports
Yeah.
Illustrated swimsuit editions.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So I would say they were probably my first celebrity crush. I will tell you some of my heroes growing up, besides like my father,
Hmm.
was like Larry Bird. I grew up in Vermont, and so a lot of the New
Hmm.
England sports teams, like the Patriots and the Celtics and stuff. So Larry Bird and his work ethic and his drive to succeed, coming from the humble beginnings that he did. I grew up on a dairy farm family, so work ethic was instilled in me, and was a really big part of my growing up. So, in terms of, I wouldn't say crush, but in terms of just
Hmm.
celebrity awe and being a bit of a hero to me was I would say Larry Birds of the world back in the day.
Hmm.
And then Harrison Ford will always be, for me, kind of the benchmark. Han Solo,
Yeah.
Indy, but some pretty diversified roles he never got credit for, like the 6 Days, 7 Nights film, or What
Hmm.
Lies Beneath, or The Fugitive, or Regarding Henry, Mosquito
Yeah.
Coast, things like that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Do you have like a specific director that like you always looked up to?
Well, Spielberg, obviously, I think for
Hmm.
most people is going to be on that list. At least for me, would be the
Yeah.
number one. But also other directors like Lasse Hallström and Frank Darabont. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen some of their films, but Frank Darabont had a string of movies like The Green Mile and
Hmm.
Shawshank Redemption that are two of my favorites of all time, to be honest. And Lasse Hallström's got an incredible body of work.
Hmm.
An Unfinished Life was a great movie, and things like that. So I would say those three actors in general. I'm actually a big fan of Clint Eastwood's directing style, to be
Oh yeah.
honest. He's very efficient. Um, so I've always been, Ron Howard's another amazing
Hmm.
director. And I've had the privilege of meeting him and a couple times and having some great conversations with him. And he's just a really down to earth, um, great guy and great,
Hmm.
great director.
All
Noah, did
right.
you want to
So
lead it
we're gonna
in?
end
Okay.
this. Yep.
Oh,
So
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. We have wind, so if I cut out, it's the wind.
Okay, no problem. I
All right. So we're gonna.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
You go ahead, man.
I can give you a little tidbit. You asked about this upcoming year, and since it's already been
Oh.
announced,
Yeah.
I'm excited to say that after the new year is upon us, we go back and begin principal photography
Hmm.
on A Grand Biltmore Christmas. That's the title that it's going to be called, The Grand Biltmore Christmas. It's a new, fresh story set in the Biltmore universe, which we're very excited about. Jonathan Frakes is back, but it's a new cast of characters and a new story to be told, which we're super excited about. So, and I know that when you're doing something, that's in the same kind of universe as a beloved
Mhm.
original, which our company produced, that there's big shoes to fill. But one of the things I want to assure fans is that there's a lot of love and care that's going into this project. We expected some people to want a continuation of the original story, but Chris Palaha's character can't come back to the Biltmore because they'd recognize him, right? um, but I think that this is a very passionate story. The story that we're about to tell is a very grounded story, and
Mhm.
um, I think that people are going to be really happy with the end product when they see it. So we're really excited about it. It's been several years in the making, and
Mhm.
we're really excited to be able to partner up with Biltmore again to do this project. So
I can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be phenomenal.
We we know it is going to be the biggest Hallmark film of next year, right? The
who
biggest
knows?
investment.
Our job is to make them where they fall on the
Mhm.
on the rating scale, and fan response is up to the gods of the movie watching universe. I know that we put a lot of love and care into these, and what happens with them after. That's the beauty of filmmaking, right?
Mhm.
Something that you don't realize, like a Newport Christmas.
Yeah.
That was just a regular old budget film for Hallmark that we developed and put a lot of love and care into it. And the
Mhm.
feedback after it aired and the critical response has been phenomenal, to be honest. Way more than we ever expected. So you never know how it's all going to land, but I know that it
Exactly.
won't be for lack of trying. I can assure you.
Mhm.
That's
So
right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Every single person puts their all into the movies, and we thank you for it. As viewers and as podcasters, we get to do this. Not everybody gets
Mhm.
the ins and outs of this, so we feel lucky and privileged that we get to hear all these stories and learn all these little things and share them with our viewers.
It's awesome. And thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on here.
And thank you. For everybody who is new, like and subscribe. We got a lot more coming up. We've already set up a few for this month and February. So until next time, everybody, like and subscribe for more and keep your heart full of Hallmark.